Hello, everybody. Welcome to our community hangout. Um, I don't think we're going to be doing portfolio feedback today. Unless you guys really want it, then maybe we can jump back on that. But we were more planning on having this just like a casual chat and maybe actually I wanted to talk about the Godzilla VFX Oscar winner, which I thought was really cool.
hmm
I don't have you seen the movie yet, Corbin?
I haven't seen the movie yet,
Mm.
but I've definitely been following all the news and you know the chat about it, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely will watch it soon. I only have time to watch one thing at a time, and I'm deep into Shogun, so
Nice. You guys
it's
worked
so
on
good.
that, right? At ILP?
ILP did, but not me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Mirko did.
He did, yeah.
Um,
He showed me a
yeah,
offline show reel of his with all the work he did. It's pretty cool.
um, yeah, but yeah, so it is amazing. But anyway, that's off topic. But just yeah,
Yeah.
Shogun's amazing. I watched the original show, and then now this is so good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you know, I know people probably won't believe me because I didn't say it anywhere public, but I 100% called this that the future, like we were heading towards a collapse in terms of budget.
Mm.
People are sick of the enormous, I mean, I've got Marvel fatigue, and everything has just gotten better, like bigger and bigger. Every shot has effects in, and it's like these just enormous budget. I
Mm.
mean, obviously, Rings of Power was the freaking biggest budget thing like ever.
Yeah.
Um, Could have ended world hunger, but no, we made a really, really bad.
Yeah. TV show.
I mean, like the effects are cool,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
story was terrible, and it just wasn't worth it. And that's actually really the point that it all
Mm.
comes down to is that story is no longer king; it's all just big flashing lights.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think it's exactly what I predicted was going to happen. Is at a certain point it starts swinging back the other way,
Mm-hmm.
where smaller, lower budget things are catching people's attention.
Yeah.
And I think it is very healthy for the industry. Although we'll talk about it because there are, I
Mm-hmm.
think, some downsides that are going to come with it. But of course,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's downsides to everything in life. There's always going to be some people who will manipulate situations badly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this is positive for the industry, which I think means as well as because it's been a difficult couple of, like last year or two for the industry, and I do think that not out of the woods yet, but I think we're headed towards a healthier place where people will have more stable careers again.
Yeah, I think I keep saying this, but I think the peak of filmmaking was Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, uh, those type of movies. And
Yep.
I always feel like I'm getting old and I'm like that old man who's like, oh, back in my day,
Yeah,
movies
back in
were
my day,
yeah.
things were good, but now things suck.
But dude, it's real. It's not just me being old
Totally.
or but it's literally and that I just saw an article today about Godzilla and the guy was it's a really good article. I think Merg posted it on the on Discord as well. Or like yeah,
hmm
Pirates of the Caribbean, like Ava posted Davy
Yeah,
Jones. Best. That was
exactly.
peak CGI. Peak.
Brilliantly done.
Peak. Peak CGI.
Yeah.
Dude, I literally I rewatched the making of. I'm like while I'm working, I'm like watching the making of, which is 5 hours long. 5 hours of behind the scenes on how they made the movie. I don't know if it's like
hmm
all three movies combined, but just this one clip that I found on YouTube is like 5 hours long, and I'm like, oh yes, like I'm here for all 5 hours. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, Davy Jones, peak CGI, VFX, and filmmaking, and The Matrix and Lord of the Rings, and I feel
Yeah.
like what happened back then they were combining good story and using VFX and CGI to enhance the story. And then
Yes.
something happened, I feel like after the Avengers ended, like when I feel like the Avengers up to that point were pretty good. It was not Pirates of the Caribbean good or like Lord of the Rings good, but it was still holding together in terms of story.
Yeah.
And then after Endgame, Marvel essentially went into this mode where they were like, you know what, we're gonna do 15 TV shows and we're gonna try to live up to impossible expectations. And
Yeah.
it just literally went downhill like hard because they were it's impossible to make FX good on each TV show that they release. And
Yeah.
most of them were garbage, like they bombed. Most of them are not scheduled for season 2 releases because they
Mm.
literally canceled them. Or like the
Yeah.
latest one, which was like Madam Web or something. What was that?
I think, yeah, I was watching all sorts of reviews. I haven't even seen that, but I think I might have to watch it just like because it's such a train wreck. Apparently, it's like one of the lowest rated films like
Yeah,
of all time.
horrible. Like I don't. And why circling back to Godzilla, in this article they were saying that it was made the way movies in the 90s were made. That was their mindset, right? That
Mm.
was their workflow. And you can feel that in the movie, and you can feel that in Dune as well. Like I just saw the second part of Dune, and you watch that movie and you at least for me, I get that nostalgic feeling of when I watched the Pirates of the Caribbean or when I watched Lords of the Rings. I get
Hmm.
that with Dune, I which is something I didn't that feeling I haven't got that feeling in a long time.
Yeah.
and and it's just the right story with the right filmmaker using CG and VFX to complement the story, which is
Yeah. Which the thing
yeah,
is, if you had a bad story, then sprinkling in very light amounts of VFX is not going to hide the fact that it's a terrible story. So
yeah,
a lot of people, I think, are afraid of that, and that's
yeah.
why they use VFX too much and
Hmm.
try to cover things up. And even though you can see it, and if you go in with a discerning eye, you absolutely can look right past the VFX and be like, well, there's absolutely no story here. But it does enough work to actually catch the attention of the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So people will go and watch it anyway. So that's why they've been doing it, and it's a crutch.
Yeah,
And slowly but surely, they've realized that as long as they just shove a bunch of flashing lights, basically just tons and tons of VFX, um, in a film and hype it up and everything, then it doesn't, they can basically put whatever garbage they want in front of us and we'll still, enough people will go and watch it.
yeah.
At least that was their theory, I think. But I think it's starting to wear thin.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
people's attention is like, look, this is just not good enough anymore.
Hmm.
So, and that's why as well. I mean, if you notice, there's far fewer, or at least now it's changing. But there was a stage where it was like there's no, like, everything was a sequel or a
Hmm.
reboot or a spin-off or just something. It's like because there's no original stories, and I thought, what the heck is going on? But the thing is, there are still good writers in the world. But what's happening is the budget is actually driving that.
Hmm.
I read this in an article somewhere, and I thought that was genius. It was actually really, I can't remember where I read it, but they're basically saying like because the budget is so high,
Hmm.
in order for them to make their money back,
Yeah.
they cannot risk that
Hmm.
much money
Yeah.
on a project that's unique, like just new. Even if they read the story and they say, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is a really good story. I'd believe in this."
Yeah.
It's too much of a risk. So
Hmm.
they go, "No, but everyone, if we release Matrix 5 now, people will watch it.
Yeah.
Even if they were annoyed that we made the Matrix 4, they will watch 5 just to see whether we mess it up or not." So it's an IP that they know. So we will probably make at least most of our money back. Um,
Yeah.
So the risk is lower, and then they shove a bunch of effects to try and make it look really cool.
Hmm.
And it's just this, and it's a self-defeating cycle because then they do that, and then they become more like the investors are more scared and risk averse, and they don't want to try anything new. So what it takes is actually independent, someone with a very small budget can't get the big budget. So then they're like, oh, look, we've got 15 million, which, I mean, obviously to a single person is a lot of money, but for a film, it's like, a small amount. And they go, okay, well, this is our budget for VFX. So, we might as well take a risk on an independent story that we think is really good and tell that really well and work with a single studio and get some cohesive VFX rather than chopping it up into so many pieces among like 50 different vendors that it's almost just there's no style, so. And then that's, I mean, I actually want to talk more about the whole single studio thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I laugh about this quite often. If you ask me honestly, what is one of my all-time favorite project that I've ever worked on was Paw Patrol.
Mm.
And I've worked on some like stuff on Netflix, big like VFX things, but working on a big like a decent budget animated film was so much more fun than anything in the VFX industry. For one simple reason: you are involved in the entire process because it's one studio. I mean, maybe there are cases where they do take animation and divide it among vendors, but I have not heard of that. I mean, because I've worked on several feature-length animations, some of them very low budget, and then Paw Patrol was the big one, but all of them have been done by a single studio. And that makes all the difference in the world because you're talking to the director. You're in the dailies and everyone's like, there's a vibe because it's one studio. Even if you're remote, which we did most of Paw Patrol remote, and the whole second one was like fully remote, I think. There's a vibe. There's like a company culture. You're talking to the same people. I mean, on Avatar, I built the fire setup, the whole fire tool system and thing, and then also the air, and then at some point even redid the water to try and match what another client was doing. So I did a whole lot of dev. But 90% of the shots were not done with my system because they were done by another vendor. So that vendor had to build a fire system, and another vendor had to build a fire system. So every single vendor that did any fire had to build their own system. What a waste of time. If you had one studio working on it, you could get the whole team in the right mindset. Let's work on this one project for a whole year. We're going to build the tools from scratch. Come up with a cohesive style. It just works.
Yeah.
And you lose that with these big VFX projects because they need to churn it out really quick. And they need literally thousands of effects artists. So there's no way they could get that from a single studio. But now the Godzilla thing, what did you say? Was it 30 people or something?
35, but
That's
I'm not
amazing.
sure if that's like literally the whole team, or was that just probably just the VFX team was 35, and then the filmmaking team
Still,
was like another
that's fine.
35. But yeah, they worked as one solid team, and even the director said, also the director was a VFX artist back in the day, which is quite important as well, because I'm seeing that a lot, even with like people like Gareth Edwards, the director of The Creator, and he did Rogue One. He used to be a VFX artist as well.
And you can tell.
You can tell like just the way they filmed The Creator, and if you watch some of the interviews, I think there was a very good one on the Corridor, the VFX Artist React episode, where Gareth was explaining how they filmed it and his background and all of that. And you could see the way he filmed it and the way he directed it from an understanding of VFX. He knew when to use VFX and when not to use it. And that's super important. Also, if you look at something like John Wick or these big martial arts movies that are coming out recently, the reason why they're good is because the director was a stunt person their whole
Yes.
career, and now they're like, let's make a movie for people who love action, and we as stunt
Totally.
people, we know exactly what we would like to see, you know.
Mm.
And I feel like more and more
Yeah.
people like that should start directing, which is like people like us who are FX people. We would be like, I
Mm.
know what good effects looks like. We're not going to overuse CGI. We're not going to make it look bad. We're not going to rely on it for the wrong things, which is what
Yeah.
most directors or studios are doing. And that's why
Yeah.
people then start blaming, oh, CGI, oh, this movie's just garbage. CGI and VFX are ruining
Yeah.
movies. And that's not the case. It's,
It's just being used to
yeah.
hide all the problems. So I can understand why people resent
Yeah.
the CG, because it's in your face
Oh,
and
I
it's
get it.
trying
Yeah.
to disguise the fact that it's just a steaming pile of garbage that we're
Yeah.
being told to watch, but then covered in glitter, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I do think that you can have a director that doesn't have experience in VFX. I suppose it depends on the project.
Mm.
But it would then have to be the type of director that really would listen to their team. Because like an on-set VFX soup should
Mm.
be what it's like having a VFX director. You know, like a director who has experience in VFX.
Well, kind
Sure,
of.
you should have
Yeah.
someone who can influence the on-set stuff. Yeah.
But the problem is the onset VFX soup is not involved, maybe in some cases, but they're usually not
Yeah.
involved with the actual story. And that's when the decisions are made, you know, what
Yes.
that's the issue.
And that's
And
the problem is as
yeah.
soon as you start splitting it, now unless they communicate well, it all falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually also touches on the problem of why multiple vendors, multiple studios, or whatever, like it all makes it worse. You know, it's like a game of broken telephone, you know,
Mm.
like I mean, you know, on Paw Patrol, I'm sitting in a call with the director and he's telling me, "Man, this shot's not working for me." And I say to
Mm.
him, "Tell me what you want to see."
Yeah.
On Sandman, I I was in one call with the showrunner,
Mm-hmm.
not the director, just the showrunner, the one
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
The rest of the time was with our vendor side VFX soup,
Mm-hmm.
who then is talking with the showrunner, who's then talking with the director. It's
Mm-hmm.
that many things removed. And that's me as a effects soup and in the vendor side, who then has to talk to my team, because my team's not even in the meeting with the VFX soup
Yeah.
on our side, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like the amount of conversations that have to happen for that note to trickle down
Yeah.
is ridiculous. I mean, you mentioned to me earlier when we were chatting about it, okay, the director talking
Directly.
straight to an
Yeah.
artist. And you know what, I'm fine with that, but in some way, I do think that point of at least a department supervisor, so the FX
Mm.
supervisor, is to be just a little bit of a filter
Mm-hmm.
between the director and the artist. Even if I'd love it if it was me, the director, and the artist in the room.
The same room, yeah.
Because then the artist hears the comment directly, but then still I have a conversation with the artist to say, listen, I know he said he wants it like the explosion to be punchier, and you
Mm-hmm.
might think you know what he means, but actually I want you to go away and like adjust the sim scale or do this or that. Like I might, because sometimes the way they describe it versus the way it's actually to implement the thing, like especially if you're talking like a junior artist or a mid artist that maybe doesn't fully know all the possible paths and ways to get to that result, they can sometimes go the wrong way and then waste a lot of time. So you do still need effects supervisors, but that doesn't mean that I ever want to be having a conversation with the director and then have to go away separately and talk to my team. I'd rather we were all in one room.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
the difference with Godzilla was that the director was also used to be a VFX artist, so he knew what the
that's
pipe,
fine. Yeah,
like what the, what
yeah.
the pipeline or the workflow. I saw Jay said Michael Bay was fun to work with. I love getting cursed out. Jay, do if like no pressure, but if you want to hop on the call and tell us some of your stories, I would love to.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, if you want to, no pressure. But because you also said, I think Jay worked on Rango at ILM San Francisco, which is also
Yeah,
probably a lot of
that must have
stories
been a
there.
cool project. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rango was the same director. I keep forgetting his name, that did the Pirates of the Caribbean. Jay requested to speak. Heck yeah.
Hey guys,
Hey,
can you hear
dude.
me?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, Gore Verbinski. He was really
Gore.
good to
Yeah,
work with
Gore.
too.
That's, yeah, yeah. So you,
Yep, Pirates and Rango. So yeah,
what
he
was the,
knew he was one
what?
of those directors that
Mm,
had a good vision. Anyway,
what happened to him? He stopped directing after Rango, right?
I don't know.
I kind of miss
Shit,
him.
I have to look it up.
I kind of miss
He's a
his,
good dude.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah. Uh, one of the like one of the directors that you could actually talk to. Like, I'm I'm a smoker, so I would be outside the Yoda fountain, and Crash and Gore and the producer would come in the morning,
mm,
and they would actually like talk to you. A lot of the folks, they just go like straight into the office and they don't really talk to the artists that much
mm-hmm.
because they're sort of sheltered from a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that's good. Like, you don't always want direct contact between the artist and the director because some directors are comfortable with that and some are not.
Mm.
Um, and in the case of Michael Bay, maybe you don't want to throw the artist in front of the truck like that. And every everybody takes feedback differently.
Mm.
Um,
Mm,
and Bay's not a bad guy. He just speaks his mind and he swears a bit. And
yeah.
he's just very direct kind of a
Bayham.
person. And
Mm.
yeah, and that's good
Yeah.
because I would rather take a rough 5 minutes of direction that's not personal,
Mm.
but then know what I'm doing rather than have someone that just beats around the bush and then you end up going around in circles and doing 100 takes of something that you don't need to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good to have somebody who has a vision. But I heard stories about Michael Bay as well, that he's like very, yeah, he
He's
likes to
fun.
yell
He's a
yell
fun
things.
guy.
But I mean, that's part of the job, really, is
Mm.
learning how to kind of filter the feedback and into something really useful. And that is why especially if your team's got a lot of like juniors and less experienced artists, where you really need an effects soup to help filter down those comments, because otherwise it can be quite soul destroying. In the
Yeah.
same vein, like having that conversation with the director, even if it's a slightly negative or slightly sort of tense vibe,
Mm.
then the whole film takes on a certain vibe and a certain, so then Michael Bay will have a really distinct style that would come out if he was interacting with his team more. But take even one of his films and divide it into like 50 different vendors all doing little bits, and they never even get to talk to the guy. And it's not going to feel like his film, really. It's just,
Yeah.
it's a bunch of artists working in isolation.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I still think that no matter what, even if the directors are a bit difficult, having smaller teams and you working on, more of the film
Mm-hmm.
would result in a better, better product.
It always does, I think. And from experience on his stuff in particular, like if there's a big budget, it was usually like ILM would get a big chunk of it, DD would get a big chunk of it, and then there might be some smaller vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm.
but everybody's really different. Like Bay was very loyal to his effects houses. Um, and when he was doing a movie, we kind of assumed that a good chunk of work was coming in.
Mm.
But then movies like you're talking about, like Endgame, where you've
Mm.
got 20 companies working on all
All
these
of them.
sequences. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lot, and then you have a studio side guy that has to manage all of that, and yeah, it's a big nightmare. If you
Mm.
can give one facility a bigger chunk of the work, then they'll have their own supervisors that can manage it internally. have that feedback loop for the artists, manage the look of the work, keeping it consistent between a bunch of artists and stuff. That's always needed.
Yeah, I feel like that's maybe the
Yeah.
trend going forward, like having smaller teams, like 35 people, maybe 40, but really just keeping it in that team and just, working hard as one kind of group of people instead of multiple
I mean,
vendors.
even if you needed 1 or 2, 3 vendors, but when it starts getting upwards of that, it starts getting ridiculous. Then it's you feel like when you're working on it, you're working on just this tiny little slice, and you have no sense of the whole. Yeah. Also, I think we should be, because I mean, obviously, I'm an effects artist. I want to work on amazing effects, but I wish there was less. Like some of the shots that we've had to work on, I'm like, do we really need to add effects to this? And not even just effects, like VFX. Like, why is it filmed in front of a green screen? Surely you could have built a set. Like it. Not for everything. I understand why. Like, you get budget-wise, it makes sense to put some things in VFX because you just can't build that set. But do more practically, and then pick your battles with effects. And then say, okay, cool. Now you've got like a handful of shots that really could not be done any other way other than with effects. And then, your team's really excited to work on it, and you're working on the big money shots. But like, nobody wants to just go and add freaking foot contacts, like foot contact dust and stuff to like 1,000 shots, or I mean, we on Sandman. I hope I'm not. I think it's been discussed. I hope I'm not outing the guy, but he, like the lead actor, went all like method, and when it grew his fingernails really long. I don't know why. I don't know. Just I don't know. Maybe it was in the comics or something, and he refused to cut them. So literally, we had, but like I think the director or whatever like hated that. So then they literally had people whose job was to give him basically a digital
manicure.
Yeah. It's like, that is a waste of resources. Why?
Money well spent.
Just tell the guy to
no.
So that's the type of stuff where I just think we need to be moving away from that. And I mean, I enjoyed working on Avatar, but it was way too much effects and way too much green screen and that freaking volume, and just it's horrible. Like, just
yeah, I guess
I always think of the Superman mustache removal as the most unnecessary digital effect. It hurt me. My soul.
Good times. Yeah, poor people that had to do that, huh? That I feel bad for them, because somebody had to do it and they knew that it's not good. They were like, God damn it, everybody's gonna talk about this shot, but but they had to render it, and while they were uploading, they were like, God damn it. Yeah,
that was what it felt like working on the first Airbender movie.
Oh, dude, you worked on that?
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, someone had to.
You're like, God damn it, every day.
God damn it. Knight came in and screened the film for us 6 months before we were to finish, and that just crushed all of our souls. And we had to, still do the overtime for the last 6 months, knowing that it was just polishing a turd.
Yeah, it's not gonna get any better.
Nope. It was the same cut. It was.
Yeah, but
that must be really difficult working on projects that are not gonna.
Jay, you also worked on, you said, the Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
True. Yep. You get some good ones and you get some less good ones.
That was what I was hinting, yeah. Because you had Pirates that was pretty good. That's a good movie. Were you the F?
And we knew.
What was your role on that?
Oh, that one was earlier for me. I think I just did a little effects, but mostly compositing lighting.
Hmm. And you still do? Are you
But
like
yeah,
CG supervising now, or FX artist? What's
uh,
your
I'm
current
I'm
role?
just I'm I'm doing mainly effects, mostly real-time effects now.
Mm.
I kind of got sick of the bullshit
Hmm.
and moved over to games,
Yeah.
and it has its own issues, but it's nicer in the way the projects are a bit longer. Um,
Yeah.
and there's other good things about games, but it's different. It's fun.
Yeah.
Different problems.
Different problems. Yeah. I used to work at Axis Animation, and like we worked on like AAA game cinematics, but then
Mm,
we also got to work on Gears of War, which was a longer project. Like we actually worked on the game, and that was it's exactly what you said. It was we worked on that for like a year and a half, and it was way more chill. People were like super chill about stuff in terms of deadlines. They were like, oh yeah, take 2 weeks to do that. Just take your
yep.
time, no rush. But if you work on game cinematics, that was always like 3 to 4 months, and it was like go 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 go, and then stop, and then 2 weeks of breathing, and then go 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 go. So yeah, games are a bit better in that regard when it comes to the
It's
deadlines.
exactly what I was saying about the animation as well, like feature animation.
Feature animation as well,
These
better.
long projects, and like, sure, you have deadlines,
Hmm.
and you do have to work hard toward them, but there's enough room and in that sort of time budget where you can say, okay, look, we're falling behind here, let's reassign or let's hire some extra people because it feels like we're not going to make it. So nobody's really like from day one working overtime because actually you've taken on way too much because the project is this, like it's like 2 months long, and the margin for error is just zero. So the second you realize that there's more than you agreed to, now you are already behind schedule. Like that's crazy, and the margin is like razor thin, and that's like advertising is like that, and the I feel like working at Axis, game cinematics was exactly the same. It was like really really short, no tolerance kind of project, and it's rough. I mean, it's cool, you learn a lot, and very quickly within even like a year you get a really
Mm.
cool show reel because you've worked on like
Yeah.
in different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's very sustainable long term. And then when you get to work on something much longer, man, it's so, you feel so much more invested in it,
Mm. Hmm.
you know so yeah, and hopefully that's the way that the industry is going in general, even for VFX. If we have fewer effects, a higher quality bar, and smaller teams, or fewer studios involved, and smaller budgets, spread it out over a longer period of time, that's going to be a much healthier industry for everyone, and then the story can shine.
Mm.
Don't cover it up with VFX. So yeah, that's my
I agree.
hope for us for the future.
Yeah.
um
But also,
Downsides, though, I am worried that that the expectation is going to be, oh well, it can be done. You can win an Oscar on a tiny budget. So now the expectation is not going to lower. It's just that the expectation is that you can do the same thing with a tiny budget.
yeah,
So
because they had like 15 million, right?
yeah,
Allegedly 15 million,
yeah.
35 people. And then I don't know how long
Do
it
it in
was.
Japan
Yeah,
where
Japan.
there's very cheap labor.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think they worked a huge amount of punishing overtime, but that's part of like just the budget is basically the budget on visual effects is cost of labor.
Hmm.
You get a whole bunch of artists that get paid to do stuff. So they had a smaller team, and like you were saying before, you have a director that can just wheel his chair over there, say that's great, do that or don't do that. You get feedback within 5 minutes instead of a week, and you're just
Mm.
efficient and you're just making the right choices all the time, you know.
Yep.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think we're going to see that. It'll probably be closer to the creator kind of stuff, like $80
Hmm.
million
Yeah.
thing. Unless you're making
Yeah.
movies in cheaper locations, then the budget will go lower, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be ridiculously low budget, but as long as it's not so high that that the investors cannot risk an independent type of film or a or a longer timeline, or like if it's delayed by 6 months, they basically are losing money. They're just absolutely burning through it. Like that's really bad for us. So if the budget can just come down, it doesn't have to be hacked down to 15 million for us to still see a positive change.
Yeah, but it was 50 million for the VFX, as far as I know. I think the whole movie had a bigger budget.
Yeah. It must have been, but that's what I'm talking about. Just even like whatever our slice of that pie, still like it doesn't have to be tiny.
Yeah,
but we can still have a better process.
yeah. I think the creator was a very good example of, because the way they shot it, the way they shot it, like the pipeline and the workflow they had, because of it, the budget was lower. And I'm not sure how much they made in the box office, but I imagine like the profits were way higher. Also, it was
Now
a good
that's the
movie.
irony, is if
Yeah.
the budget's super high, you've got to really, really aim for the stars to even
Yeah.
make your money back.
But they usually fuck it
So,
up, right? Like with the rings of power, they had like allegedly 1 billion or something stupid, right? But I'm not sure if that's even true, because like freaking, was that true?
yeah, it was insane. But
1
the thing
billion?
is, they were bragging about how expensive it was. And it's like, that's not like, bragging about the price of it being high in a vacuum, like just that in its own is a negative thing. It's only positive if it's like, okay, it cost us this amount, and look, we made the most amazing, like, we actually, it was like groundbreaking effects. It pushed us to the next level. Then maybe you could brag about that. But saying, oh, we just spent more money than anyone has ever spent on a series is like, okay, well, then you're just bad at money. Like, it's just, I don't understand why they were so proud of that fact.
Well, what I'm reading now is that, yeah, the first season had 465 million. Initially, it was supposed to cost between 100 and 150, but then it went up to almost like half a billion. I'm guessing the second billion is for season 2, or like season whatever, season 3.
I mean, that's 10 hours, so it's basically 5 movies.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money,
Hmm.
but that's a lot of time also. Or I should say it's what, 2 Lord of the Rings movies or 5 normal movies, but 10 hours is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Yeah.
A lot of studios.
Yeah.
What was the budget for Lord of the Rings?
I mean, obviously, we're talking about a very different time as well, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think New Zealand probably paid for half of those movies as well, the first 3.
Yeah.
There's also a big factor in movie making is where the tax breaks are.
Mm.
Probably the biggest factor, sadly.
You mean in which country they are?
Yeah.
Hmm.
A movie will be shot somewhere because it's targeting certain tax breaks, or the visual effects work will be done in the same way because there's, Canada will pay like 40% of your salary, so it's a great deal.
Yeah, I think that's why they're shooting the new Jurassic Park in London, because there's a new tax break in London, I think, when it comes for VFX projects specifically. That's what I heard. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but could be.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, it was Hollywood,
Hmm.
and now there's, probably 10% of the work is still in California, and it's all moved to either Vancouver or London, and Montreal's more popular nowadays.
Montreal, yeah.
Australia's got some tax breaks. It's all the producers figuring out how they get the best bang for their buck.
Yeah, there were also, when I used to live in Glasgow, they were shooting one of the Fast and the Furious movies there, and they used it as London. They were shooting in Glasgow, but they redecorated it so it looked like London, because it was a lot cheaper to shoot in Glasgow, obviously, than shut down the main streets in
Yeah.
London.
Yeah, no, it's
Right.
much cheaper here. But they usually use all the buildings here as well. Look really, it looks like old New York, I think, or old
Yeah, it does.
Brooklyn or something like that. Like, so they yeah, it's like if they use shooting some kind of like period piece or whatever.
Mm.
But then they'll come to Glasgow and shoot. That's I think why they did Indiana Jones
Mm-hmm.
here, was because it was meant to be some part of America, but way back then, and it's cheaper here, obviously, than like shooting in London. Although that's what then they also use. When I was living in South Africa, would film a lot of stuff there, but most of it wasn't actually anything to do with any South African studios. It was just it would just film on location there because it's much cheaper, and you also get like it's super diverse with like you can drive in different directions and get like mountains, ocean, desert, like all within like half an hour, plus then an actual city, all on like a really low, like a really weak currency, so your money goes a lot further.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jay, tell us the craziest story you ever had that happened to you in the industry.
Oh, I probably can't, but
Yeah.
I'm already probably pushing it, but I don't know. I have different types of
what
stories.
what was the biggest fuck up that nobody knows about that you did? Tell us the good stuff.
I never fuck up. Everything's perfect.
Sure.
I'm trying to think of. I don't have any good fuck ups. I have there was fuck ups. There's one. I don't remember who did it, but the corridor crew guys got all up in it about. There's one shot, I think Transformers 2 or 3,
yeah.
I can't remember, with
Yeah.
the poorly retimed
The
sparks
sprite.
when
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing. Um, and the Todd Vaziri went on it, and they were showing it to him, and he was texting me like, "Do you know who did that? I don't know who did that. I have an idea who might have done it, but I can't confirm, and I will never say."
Yeah.
Um,
It was you.
but I'm surprised. It wasn't me. I didn't work on that sequence, but I have. It was probably a thing where there was probably a take number mix up in editorial, and they might have cut in a work in progress rather than a final shot into the film. Sometimes that happens. We were busting ass trying to get that out the door, so that wouldn't surprise me if that was sort of still being worked on and it was different in the Chinese version versus the American version. That happened with those Transformers movies. If you compare cuts, they're different films because we were busting ass at the end to get it out.
Yeah. That was
That's funny.
Was that on Transformers? It was the sequel, right? The second one?
It could have. I worked on 6 of them, so I confused them. But it was that Optimus Force fight scene that was in IMAX, and it was a big pain to render at the time.
That was, but yeah, it was such a like the whole scene is in slow motion, right? And like everything's perfect, and then you have that one spark that's like stepping.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like it was so good.
It was perfect, and then
there's got to be mistakes in movies. Like,
yeah,
people are finding them. Doesn't make you love the movie anymore. Like less, sorry. It's like like yeah, cool. I love all the mistakes, and it's still awesome.
Oh, yeah, a lot of the stuff we worked on, if you look close, you would see like an R2 flying in the background somewhere. Like anytime there was destruction, we would throw in a very small R2 that was practically impossible to see, but
in Transformers
it was in there.
or
I can't say for sure. Any sort of movie, like anytime we were throwing a big pile of junk around,
just like
there's a good often chances we would just fill it with assets, and you never know. If you looked really closely at the right frame, you could find something.
Just one of the random instances is just an R2.
Yeah, it could be an R2. We had the
Dude.
kitchen sink was popular. We would definitely like
Oh,
put
yeah.
in a kitchen sink in there.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool. Do you know,
There's one
I
guy
would
got,
love to know all of those from like the studios just sneaking things in.
Hmm.
yeah. Ready Player One is a good movie for Easter eggs for, I guess, obvious reasons, but there is so much crap in that movie that you have to like frame by frame it to see it all, like way more than people understand. We had a marketing, like one of the producers was in charge of all of the what would you call it, like all the different types of assets. Like you had all these different brands in the same movie lending out their stuff, and I think there was like 1,700 individual things, if that makes sense. Like so many different types of stuff, you'd never see it all.
Yeah. Yeah, there should be a collection of all these Easter eggs somewhere online. But
Yep.
that's cool that you guys put like even if nobody will ever see, you guys know that it's there, and that's special.
Yeah, you
That's
can't
special
know.
enough.
You can't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And sometimes people go too far. Like
Hmm.
on Pearl Harbor, someone wrote their name on that bomb that we followed down, that bomb shot.
Yeah.
And Bay saw it and fucking lost his shit, and
Yeah.
somebody got chewed out and took it off. And that's the line that you can't cross. You can't actually make it so people can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You just put it in for yourself.
And writing your name is a very easy way to
Yeah. Who did it?
trace it back to you.
John, was it
Yeah.
you? They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it
I've
was
been
me.
framed.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I mean, if
Um,
you're gonna put someone's name on it, put someone else's. Put Urban's
exactly.
name so that he
Yeah,
gets in shit, and you'll be
blame
like,
him.
Frame
okay,
them.
hang.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put the name of the guy you don't like, and then
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
obviously the guy. Yeah, we had
Easy sabotage.
an instance in production where in the last 2 weeks they swap out the characters, like who dies at the end. There was like a
Oh yeah.
a cookie female and a cookie, small like miniature cookies boy,
Like gingerbread man.
gingerbread man, yeah. And in the script and towards, during the whole production, and the I forgot who, I think the girl was supposed to die, and then the last 2 weeks they were like, can we switch them? And I was like, no. What do you mean? Like, we need to reanimate, redo the effects, re-render? It's like 2 weeks left. And they're like, but it's really gonna make the story better. And I'm like, sure, but give us more time. But the thing is, we couldn't get more time because they were supposed to release this at a big premiere at an event. So the event was already, had a hard deadline. So
Yeah.
we ended up, switching them. But oh, I was pissed about that.
Well, so it's for Magic the Gathering, so it was like the set releases on a certain day, so there was a very, very hard
Yeah, there's no
deadline
way.
for like, a trailer needs to be done.
Yeah. What was
The
the
thing with
biggest?
classic media, they never push the release date for you. You always just have to work towards
Hard.
their
Mhm.
thing, you know?
Oh yeah, they even told us. I think it was like, oh, budget is not an issue. Just hire more animators or like hire more people. And we're like, that in 2 weeks,
Yeah,
it's
easy.
impossible.
Yeah.
It literally takes 2 weeks to get more people and then to train them and then put them on the project. And it's gonna take yeah, the time is the issue, not the money. But
Yeah.
we got it done in the end. Just like I feel like every
Always
project
do.
gets done in the end, yeah, but we lose a bit of our life our soul gets chipped away.
Mhm.
Yeah. Corbin, do you have any good fuck ups?
I'll have to think about the fuck ups, but we did sneak an Easter egg into one project. It's just a silly project, but there was a crowd, in the stadium, and so we always, every time there was a crowd, we would try and put, Where's Wally, or was it in America, Where's Waldo? Like we would just have one of the agents have like the freaking red and white stripe thing, just make sure he was in every shot somewhere, but just hidden. So that was one of those Easter eggs. But I think I mentioned this on the Discord when we were chatting. But I actually on Avatar, they had on-set lighting to mimic what the fire would be doing when he's firebending. But the take that they chose, they switched the light on too soon. But it was like really prominent. It was like right in his face. So you're watching the plate, and the guy is doing this like turning around to do this spinning kick. And before he even kicks, suddenly everything's just orange. I'm like, okay. So we literally had to add fire in his hand, even though he's not actually attacking with the hand, just so that there was constantly orange light for the whole shot. And because then it was easier to just add extra orange than it was to try and like remove the lighting. So I guess that's a pretty bad.
Fix it in post. It's a classic.
Yeah, exactly. Fix it in post. Or I mean, I guess the fingernail thing is really the worst. I mean, come on.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine trying to remove lighting like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we had all sorts of meetings about it. It was like, okay, is this even possible? Like, how are we going to do this? How bad is it going to look once we've actually stripped this away? And it was just like, no, just add more fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had another question for you, Jay. How do you this whole AI
God.
thing that's happening? How do you feel about it?
Well, it's a big topic. Like,
Mm.
there's the shittiness of scraping everyone's work, mid-journey style, and people able to just type a picture out. It's kind of galling.
It's horrible.
And then you've got useful stuff, bespoke AI tools that I think are really good, that can work into an artist's tool set and actually save you time while still needing artists to be employed. And there's like a whole range of, gray area in between, and it's I don't know. I still haven't seen any video that actually looks usable in a professional context.
They're so
People are
far
gonna make
off. Yeah.
YouTube stuff, or you're gonna see swimmy, dissolvey, dreamlike animation stuff. And I mean, it's fine. I don't have anything against people making stuff like that, but a lot of it I think is kind of overblown, as far as like, the film space stuff. Sora, you can't use that as a plate. Like, it's not there yet. Maybe it'll get there, but it's you could still film this stuff, and you're gonna get better results if you know what you're filming. Yeah, it's ever evolving, and it's a big, kind of ugly mess right now. I'm kind of hoping a lot of these copyrighted, these data sets that contain all of this copyrighted stuff get abolished. Retrain your AIs with public stuff. That would be nicer for everybody.
Yeah.
I do think that is coming, but it will probably be a while.
Yeah, maybe after a lawsuit of some kind. We'll see.
It's so hard to legislate stuff that's like across multiple countries and it's online, and it's like there's so many gray areas. Like it's really going to be hard to figure out who can actually impose
I mean, they
any kind of
stole a
law.
lot of it. It's like literally
Yeah.
stealing. What they're doing is they're taking movies and just feeding it to their algorithm, like literal movies. You
Yeah.
know, I'm actually surprised that Disney or these bigger companies haven't gone. You know, they didn't get after
They
them.
probably are trying, and they're
They are,
probably
yeah,
having discussions about how, but that's the thing, it's such muddy waters. Like the internet has always been a bit of a Wild West kind of,
yeah.
it's hard.
I think it's not even like sure, they're stealing stuff from people, which is yeah, it's like super bad. But I think even if I look at AI and let's say it becomes super good and people start using it, I feel like the whole humanity is going to get stupider. You're just dumbing down the whole population because nobody will have to think anymore. Like there's not going to be any more critical thinking. Creativity is going to go down the drain. I feel like people are like, "Oh, I can make my own AI movies now, and I can be a film director, and my I can put my vision, and I can be a one man band film director." I'm like that.
Show me.
Yeah, it's literally gonna be the
Show me.
opposite. Like, I feel like people are gonna get so lazy and the because we have to like we have to grind and work. Like it took me 15 years to train my eye so I can now spot the black levels and like like the highlights and like when I see an image I know what's wrong with it. Like took me 15 years. You're not going to be able to train your eye using AI stuff. You will never become a filmmaker using AI. Sure, maybe some people who are already trained might use AI as a supplement, to add to their workflow. But I think, and sure, there are very good like machine learning tools that are going to be developed that will actually help us in the end. Maybe faster simulation, better tracking, better roto, better this and that. Like all of that, I think it's going to be good. But just what Midjourney is doing, or what Sora is doing, or even what freaking ChatGPT is doing, is like replacing all of the thinking we have to do. Like we literally we soon we won't have to think, and it just it's gonna dumb down the whole population.
If you want the best example of it, it's that I don't know if anyone, because obviously it happened here, so I'm very aware of it. But I think it went quite. It exploded all over the internet. Is the Willy Wonka experience? And
Yeah, yeah,
Just false advertising.
oh man, I mean
yeah,
everything, like literally the freaking AI generated ads for it, and then the the
yeah,
script was AI generated as well, and the guy that they hired to play Willy Wonka said it was just absolute, just garbage, just
disaster.
unintelligible nonsense, and just
Yeah,
I think that's it though. Like, sure there'll be tools and stuff that can make this, but to do something good, you still have to know what you're doing.
yeah,
Like, someone with zero skills can make a movie with AI, but will it be good? And in the process of even wrangling it to make it good, are you spending more time fucking with your prompts and,
hmm,
trying to get the right seed to do the right thing when you could just go film what you need
yeah,
uh,
otherwise? Like it can have its uses, but
hmm,
it's not a good tool right now. It just spits out pictures.
yeah.
yeah, and it becomes like a slot machine. At least that was for me. Like I literally got depressed using it. I went from, oh, this is very cool. Look at all the pretty images that I can use as inspiration for my projects, to I'm literally trying to fix an image with words and it's not giving me what I need or what I want. The image is still pretty, but it's not what I want. And it's not, it was just, and sure, they're going to make it better and you're going to be able to add more specific directions and all of that. But in the end, like you you're not the creator of that image. And also you will never be able to learn real art through using Midjourney or like Sora, or become a filmmaker through that. You will just not, because you have to go through a little thing I call the suck. You know, in every artist's life, the first 5 years you're literally in the suck, which means that your work is garbage, you are in pain, and you're grinding towards trying to get to the place you want to get. And using AI will never get you that experience that you need to become a good artist. And that's why I think, and also the second thing is, I saw people using it in companies started using it, right? And I saw a few fashion brands using it on Instagram, and people got so mad under the comments. They were like, this is soulless. This doesn't reflect your
Burn it at the
company.
stake.
Yeah, just destroy this. Why are you doing this? Why didn't you hire an artist? Don't you guys have money to hire like real artists? And it comes down to, let's say if Louis Vuitton starts using AI, right? It's literally the same thing as saying, why would you buy original Louis Vuittons? Just buy the fake ones. It's the same thing, right? It looks the same.
There's no value
if they're
in AI.
using the AI, then
Yeah.
anyone could use it. So then why not go with a cheap company that
Why
can
are-
make that thing?
But that's what they're promoting, right? That's literally, they're using AI, and it's the same as saying, oh, you don't need to buy our original 5K bag. It's not, it's 15K, right? Or even more. Just buy the cheaper one. It's the same thing. That's what they're saying by using AI. And also, you cannot copyright AI outputs right now. So everybody can steal it. So if Louis Vuitton does a campaign, somebody else can fake literally the same. They can freaking steal that image, put it on their Instagram.
Yeah, you don't even have to change anything about it because it's not copyrightable.
Everything becomes, everybody can copy your campaign. You cannot, and all of a sudden, nobody's original anymore because everybody can just steal immediately from you. So why I think brands are going to start using AI, there's going to be a huge backlash because people will be like, this is not authentic or real, or even it doesn't reflect your company's how do you call it, you know, the
ethos or culture, or
yeah. And then companies are going to go back to using real stuff, and then those companies are going to start saying, they're going to be like, we don't use AI, and that's going to be a badge of honor. And then all the companies that are going to use AI are going to be tolerated as something less than the good companies that are not using AI. So I think people are so freaking hyped for this AI thing right now and scared. But honestly, guys, I think everything's going to crash down because it's not, people won't like it. People won't accept, especially not in movies. When people don't like CGI in movies or VFX, how is AI gonna be any different or better? It's 10 times worse. Anyway, that was my
also because
my
it's
rant.
not 100% accurate. The thing is, even if it gets it right, like you ask ChatGPT to do something for you or whatever, like, you know, fill in your emails for you or whatever, reply to 50 people, and it gets it right 90% of the time. But when it fails, man, because you're relying on 100%, of course you're not checking it all the time, and then you get it to like reply to your emails for you, and suddenly you've sent some really offensive email to your mom because it just got the algorithm wrong, and just you didn't check it, so you just clicked send all, and it's well, that's like that Willy Wonka thing.
Yeah,
you can see it in a lot of well, I won't call them newspaper articles, but you know, online there's so much junk articles out there. I'm sure you've read stuff on visual effects and you're just like, what the hell are they even talking about? Like, was this written by a person or just a chat GPT bot that didn't have an editor checking the story? Like,
yeah, exactly. Because how do you have someone who's, because especially if you use this for years and years and years, then if everyone's lost their creative eye, then who's checking the work coming out of AI.
Yeah.
Because everyone's looking at it going, "That looks fine to me," because I'm
That
not a
looks
trained
good.
artist. Because
Yeah.
I clicked buttons for
Yeah.
years. No, that's
Yeah. Bob,
stupid.
what do you think? Well, it looks
Yeah.
good to
Well, I
me.
don't know.
Do you
Yeah.
agree? Yeah. I mean, I got the same result. So we all got the same result. Okay, it must be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Well, the
One
other
thing we
thing
should.
is too, since the you can't copyright it, I don't know about all the studios, but I know some of them are saying, turn off the Photoshop, generative fill, no AI tools allowed in the pipeline because
Yeah.
you're doing work for a client that's supposed to be original work. If they if you put in work that can't be copyrighted into what they want to copyright, you're you're fucking yourself
Yep.
over. The client's not going to like that. So
Yeah.
even at this point, if you're doing professional work for somebody else, commercial art, you probably shouldn't be using these tools anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. But I think
I mean, I said.
the biggest issue is especially for beginners, because right now a lot of people are like jumping on board and they're like, oh, I'm an artist as well, I'm gonna learn how to be an artist now. And you won't be able to learn that way. And I have a good example. When the iPhone came out, and like not just the iPhone, but when phone photography started becoming a thing, I know a lot of professional photographers got a bit afraid and they were like, well, shit, now everybody's a photographer, or at least they're gonna think they are, right? Just because everybody has access to, like, and honestly, like the iPhone 15 right now, the camera is like excellent. Like it's honestly good. You can literally use it as a professional camera to a certain extent. But people, and yes, there was a lot of garbage photography, especially on Instagram. But the thing is that eventually made more professional photographers because they started using their phones. They started learning the composition, how to take a picture, how to color grade it, how to do this, and then how to post it. Eventually, they learned how to become an okay photographer. And they were like, well, now maybe I'm going to buy the professional camera and actually learn photography. With AI, I feel like that's not going to happen. I feel like people are going to be like, well, now I'm just going to use AI for my films, for my music, for my pictures, and they will never transition to becoming an artist. I feel like because they're going to be like, well, I'm getting the results I need, right? Because the pictures are pretty. If I start from scratch now, it's going to take me 10 years to get to the level that I'm already getting. And I feel like that's the biggest issue here that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, is that the actual, you become an artist through the grind of years and years. You have to literally go through the grind there, and there's no other way. Like you cannot just become an artist through AI.
I think what it is, and I did say this last time we spoke about AI, was basically, if you want to be an artist, you won't use AI to make art. If you want to be a coder, you wouldn't use AI. You would learn the code. The people who use AI to make code are people who have no interest in learning code but need some casual code. Kind of like you could probably Google, oh, how do I write a formula in Excel that imports the latest stock exchange numbers or whatever, and someone's done it for you and you can copy paste it, but you still have to then maybe like figure out how to actually put that in properly or change it slightly. So AI is just making that process better. Someone who has no idea about coding, no desire to do coding, can use it to do simple things. Someone who would make a little poster for their community hall using clip art or whatever, or just Google images that they've just stolen anyway, because like it's literally, they're not making money off of it. They're just sticking up some picture of, like, I don't know, their Halloween party. So they just Googled Halloween stuff. Well, now they can generate some kind of, rather than copy pasting directly, they can kind of feed it a prompt, get something slightly unique, and okay, cool, now I've got an image, because I'm not an artist, but I just wanted an image, so that's fine. But an artist whose job is an artist, like, not going to use AI. I mean, maybe now there's a little bit of a hype and then like people pulling one way and the other, but eventually it's not going to be a thing. Like even if ChatGPT really could generate like really good Vex code, I wouldn't use it because the same reason I don't like to copy paste my own code that I've made in the past, because if I get too used to copy pasting the same stuff, then I actually forget the function in there. I'm like, hang on, how do I do that again? Because I don't remember because I'm just copying it, or I turned it into a tool. Like at one stage, I was so obsessed with making HDAs out of everything. Then I stopped because at some point I was like, hang on, I now don't remember half of this shit because I made it once and then I made it a tool and now I use that tool. Like, okay, obviously there is use cases for making a tool, but you got to be careful. That's like a very low level example of this. If you're using AI to generate code, then you have no idea what that code is doing and how to fix it and how to think like in the code. It's terrible.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It removes the critical thinking out of the equation, which means that your brain goes on autopilot, which means that you become more stupid. And bottom line is that your brain is like a muscle that you have to constantly train. And the training doesn't happen if you're just watching somebody else lift weights. That's what AI is. That's another good one. Yeah, it's like using AI for your art is like wanting to go to the gym and looking all of the videos on YouTube of people lifting weights and thinking you're getting fit.
Yep.
Anyway,
it's for
not
casual
conducive to
users.
learning. Yep. And in
I
a
was
similar vein, not AI, but the way like learning and getting better, there's something to be said. Like everybody's, everybody. I work remotely now, and there is a big difference in working in a studio with a bunch of people that can come to your desk and you can interact with, and then working remote. Like I feel like I love working remote and it works great for me. I'm not sure I need that environment as much anymore. But for the more junior people, I'm kind of sad that more work has gone remote because people aren't going to get the same type of like community training that would be available in the studio environment.
I agree.
I think that's really important when people are learning to have peers around that you can bounce problems off of, things like that.
Yeah,
it's a big issue.
Yeah, I 100% relate to that because when I got hired as a junior, I had Corbin across the table, and Corbin was always helping me with like super technical stuff. And that's how I leveled up like super fast by just asking people questions left and right. And yeah, I really relate to that. I was kind of lucky.
And you could, if you're remote, you could still just ask someone that's on the team. But the thing is, you won't. Like you don't.
It's different. It's a different but we used to take coffee breaks or tea breaks, and we would chat about stuff. And I would be like, dude, like something's like, it's bugging me. I can't solve it. And then you were like, well, try this. Or like you used to overcomplicate setups, and I was like, you know what? You're too smart. Let me give you my stupid version of the setup. And then you were like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I overcomplicated it. And I was like, see, you need me.
That happened literally the other day. So.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, it's a sad thing. I mean, I'm with you. Remote work works for me way better. It's like I live in Glasgow. There's only really one big studio here, and I used to work there, and I don't want to go back. I didn't, kind of outgrew it, and it's not the environment that I feel like would be good for me right now. So if I don't want to work there, then I have to literally leave the country, but like I've got a family, so now uproot the whole family to jump around from one studio to another. When I was working at Goodbye Kansas, okay, not me specifically, but a whole bunch of other people that were there and people I know were being encouraged, come and move to Sweden to keep working at Goodbye Kansas. And then all of a sudden, I mean, I think they're still going now, but man, they are really struggling. Then they might even just close down at any point.
Mm.
Imagine if you had just moved your whole family and then the studio you're working at goes down. I mean, I'm sure there's other studios in Sweden, but like, hey, man, we're moving around for jobs. So it's 100% remote is amazing. But yeah, the learning process is very different now, and we've definitely lost something. I
This
wonder
is
if
where
there's
I
a
would
way to get past it, like to improve the communication in a way that actually works. I don't know.
Mm.
the company I'm at, we had these Facebook portals, which was kind of cool. It was like a standalone little hardware device with a screen and a camera on it. We just have it on our desk. And all the other artists, we just kind of be Brady Bunch on our little, TV thing. So you could just talk like people were there, and we could interact all day, and it was fun. But kind of a good setup just for having people looking at each other remote,
Mm,
just like this is
Mm.
basically, just with more people in the windows.
yeah. Like I was wondering if you could, like, if the like VR stuff got really, really good, where they're creating like a virtual work environment where there's literally people,
Mhm.
next to you in the same kind of virtual environment, and then you can even look over at their screen and stuff. And like, I wonder,
Well, that's what they're trying to do with the Apple glasses, right?
but will it work? I don't know.
I think eventually
I
it's
wouldn't
gonna
want to
work.
have that shit on my head all day. Like,
Yeah,
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Like it
it's
has to be
it's
so
there's this
convenient.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it
yeah,
might work for short periods of time, like meetings or something. But
Hmm.
to just be like constantly working like that, I don't think so. I don't know.
yeah.
Yep.
But otherwise,
Well,
maybe learning through something like like DoubleJump, and maybe it's actually up to the schools to create platforms where juniors can learn a lot more, and you're not relying on the kind of studio environment to teach the juniors. And so basically, by the time you arrive at the studio, then it really is just like just get your work done, and actually your community is more at like these types of things, so chatting in Discord, hopping on calls like this, having instructors and workshops, but that you can then also ask questions live and also talk to each other. Maybe that's the way.
I think learning and improving may have shifted the onus onto the individual more now. Like
Mm.
when I started out, it was more the studio, and the studio community is where you didn't have the online resources in the 90s. It wasn't a thing.
hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but now, yeah, you got folks like yourselves. You've got all these different resources that you can learn stuff. If you take it upon yourself, all the stuff is out there now. You can do it without the studio
Mm.
necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And with that being said, Jay, when are you doing a workshop?
Man, I don't know. You guys probably have it covered.
Well,
I'd have to think of something.
I think you should guest star on the because people have been requesting an avatar workshop based on the tools that I built for Avatar, since it's also just come out. But you said you worked on a 2010 film, so I think you should guest star in that, and we should do a
A collab.
like the old versus new
Old versus new.
collab something.
Yeah. The 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 first Avatar, we had a whole fluid tool set developed. You've probably heard of Plume before, and that
Hmm.
was the show that it was specifically developed for.
Hmm.
Um, there we had a 2D solver that I used for the Harry Potter Dumbledore fire sequence, but
Oh,
we
okay.
needed a 3D solver. So, but they've been using Plume ever since. So, what was that, like 2009? Like 15-year-old solver.
Mm.
It's a GPU run on CUDA. works with all the modern stuff. It's a bit like Axiom, but it also renders. Um, and that was basically it. Like a lot of us were just trying to figure this shit out on that movie, and we had direction that wasn't always consistent, and so we did a lot of takes of stuff, and I don't think anybody was exactly happy with the way it turned out, but you do what the director wants you to do, and that's what it
Yeah.
is. And but yeah, I mean, I think everybody's really been able to improve on the look of that stuff since then, for sure. Like, I think we were using 4 gig graphics cards, like 4 or 8. So,
Man,
you couldn't fit that many
that's rough.
voxels in there at the
Yeah,
time.
that's like
Um,
12 voxels at best.
Pretty much. We would rely a good amount on rest coordinate texturing for the volumes, getting extra detail in there at render time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's something we could do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that would be great.
it sounds like you have a lot of experience. I'm sure you could share a lot of just like workflow tips as well, because you yeah, like on Avatar, you guys were like literally kind of pioneering some things and developing stuff. I feel like that movie was almost like a like some movies have to fail in order to pave the way to other movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and that was
yeah.
that movie where like that movie failed, but we learned a lot, so the next one is going to be good.
It's
I mean,
true. Like
Mm,
so we were working on 2 avatars at the same time,
mm,
and a lot of the same technology went into. There was some fire. The first Avatar, the James Cameron one,
mhm,
where the suits are unloading from the drop ships. Towards the end, it's the big firefight, and there's these big fireballs. Um, Different artists, but similar technology and different directors. So there you
mhm.
go.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the way it
Yeah, I
goes.
think that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah,
fireballs.
yeah.
But yeah, that would be really cool, man.
Fireballs.
Like, we're gonna definitely will rope you in.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
Jay, if you do a workshop, we're gonna call it spicy fireballs.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Yep. I there was Transformers 5. I was doing some fluid atmosphere stuff, and I got to coin Mike's volume balls. So I'm, we can use that terminology. Just
See,
call
Nice.
everything balls. Yeah,
just balls left and
Nice.
right.
balls, just balls.
Love it.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's it, guys. I have to run because I'm hungry. Uh,
Yes. Any announcements and stuff that we need to make?
oh yeah, we just
Updates for
released.
film effects.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming along really, really awesomely. We're aiming for handing over the first part. It's probably going to be released in 3 parts, just so we can kind of get it rendered and everything. But first part, we're aiming for end of the month, or maybe first week of April, the latest. And yeah, yes, I mean that's coming out really cool. So, it'll be in your guys' hands really soon. And definitely very proud of it. Like, there's lots of super cool techniques and workflows in there that, in putting it together, it's like, wow, this is there's a lot to learn. Yeah, so that's coming along. What
Cool.
else did we? Okay, yeah, you posted about Fabian's workshop,
Yeah. Yeah, Fabian.
which is
That's
awesome.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. So this whole first module is gonna be free, and then Fabian's gonna do module 2 and 3. That's gonna be a paid workshop, but module 1, this one that we're currently releasing, is completely free, and it's pretty epic. Like, this should be a paid workshop as well, but we did it as a partnership with Side Effects, so we are releasing it for free. So check it out. It's pretty cool.
Did you say that? I think this is part 1 of module 1, right?
Part 1 of
So
module
isn't
1, yeah.
there?
Yeah.
There's a couple of parts. Do you know how many parts? Do you know? Or
I don't know. Fabian said it might be around 3. Well, I think it's going to be around 10 hours long, module 1. So 10 hours of free content, and then module 2 and 3 are going to be another, I don't know how many. But
yeah,
that's what I currently know. But yeah, it's going to be
the man's a machine.
Yeah.
Is the takeaway from that. So that is super awesome. FMX.
Yeah, we're going to be at FMX. Me and Corbin are going to have a talk. I will probably talk about my ultimate explosions emitter that I'm trying to perfect, and Corbin needs to help me with that. And we're also going to have our own booth. So we're going to be there for 4 days, giving away some cool merch and like FMX specific discounts for everybody who visits our booth. It's going to be awesome. So join us. Yeah, say hi.
Also, probably toward the end of the month, I'm going to do a webinar where we're going to do like a taste tester for a piece of the film effects workshop. So even if you guys haven't bought yet, still you can come and basically try it out, and I'm going to teach the beginning part of it. So yeah, that will be happening. Anything else? Oh wait, I don't have a date for that yet, but I'll let you guys know.
I think that's it for now. Otherwise, we're gonna announce it later. But thank you, Jay, for hopping on the call. I hope it was fun for you. It was our pleasure to have you as our secret.
Yeah, thank you very
guest.
much, man.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Yeah,
Cheers.
thank you.
Bye.